Is Marvel really just about heroes and villains? Or is there something more? A hidden layer of secrets, mysteries, and dark truths that change everything we think we know. Fans have spent years uncovering hidden connections, truths buried beneath the surface of the MCU, perhaps. But there's something deeper that keeps fans coming back. The mysteries. For decades, fans have questioned, theorized, and pieced together the hidden meanings behind the Marvel Universe. From Tony Stark's true motivations to the real purpose of the Infinity Stones, these stories have sparked 1,000 what-ifs, and some have turned into full-blown theories that challenge everything we think we know about Marvel. We're diving into the most convincing Marvel theories out there, the ones that make you pause, rethink, and maybe, just maybe, believe they were part of Kevin Feige's plan all along. From the quirky possibility that Stan Lee was actually the Watcher to the chilling idea that Thanos was right all along, there's no shortage of fascinating twists. So whether you're a casual fan or a die-hard Marvel enthusiast, sit back and join me as we uncover the most mind-bending theories that might just change the way you see the MCU forever. The darkest secret of the MCU: Thanos was right all along. The theory that Thanos was actually justified in his actions is without doubt one of the most controversial and mind-bending fan theories in the Marvel Universe. At first glance, it seems ridiculous. Thanos, a hero. It's a hard pill to swallow, but the more you examine the evidence, the more this theory seems to carry some weight. Thanos, with his grim demeanor and often terrifying methods, could very well have been hiding a deeper truth, one that even the Avengers couldn't fully comprehend. First, let's take a look at his role in the cosmic landscape of the MCU. Thanos is introduced as a being obsessed with balance, someone who finds himself caught up in the larger universal conflict almost by accident. However, as the story progresses, Thanos' influence begins to grow in ways that seem disproportionate to his stated goals. In Infinity War, Thanos holds the power to reshape reality itself. It's here that he makes the fateful decision to wipe out half of all life in the universe, effectively giving himself the burden of becoming the universe's most hated being. This moment is pivotal. Why would someone as calculated and intelligent as Thanos choose such a drastic solution with little explanation of the alternatives? According to the theory, this wasn't a random act of cruelty. It was a calculated move by someone operating with knowledge beyond what the heroes possessed. But what if Thanos' plan was never about overpopulation at all? What if it was about stopping something far worse, something the Avengers never saw coming? The Celestials, the ancient cosmic beings revealed in Eternals, require immense population growth for their emergence. If left unchecked, planets like Earth would eventually birth Celestials, leading to the destruction of entire civilizations. What if Thanos knew this? What if his snap wasn't just about resource management, but a desperate attempt to delay a catastrophe far greater than overpopulation? By cutting populations in half, he may have bought time. Time that the Avengers unknowingly erased when they reversed his actions. But Thanos wasn't the only one playing God. There was another force lurking in the shadows, carefully shaping events across time itself: Kang the Conqueror. What if Thanos was just a pawn in a far larger cosmic chess game? The snap may have held Kang's timeline together, keeping his rule stable. If Thanos had never wiped out half of existence, perhaps Kang's empire would have collapsed far sooner. Could it be that Thanos, in some twisted way, was the one thing standing between the multiverse and total war? With a single snap, Thanos didn't just balance the universe, he chose who got to survive it. Another key point supporting this theory comes from Thanos' uncanny ability to predict resource depletion and population collapse. In Infinity War, there's a scene where Thanos explains to Gamora how her home planet prospered after his intervention. While the heroes dismiss this as justification for genocide, what if Thanos was telling the truth? This scene might seem like villainous monologuing, but some fans believe it hints at something more profound. Could it be that Thanos, rather than being deluded, was actually correct in his assessment? The timing of his intervention and the results he claims occurred feel too specific to be mere rationalization. And then there's the question of his ability to wield the Infinity Stones. In Endgame, we see that even the Hulk, a being with nearly limitless strength, struggles to use the gauntlet without suffering devastating injuries. Tony Stark, despite his genius, barely survives long enough to snap his fingers. Yet Thanos, he wields the stones multiple times with no hesitation, no fatal consequences, until the very end. At first glance, this could be explained by sheer physical resilience, but what if it was something more? What if the Infinity Stones themselves only allow their power to be truly harnessed by those with an unshakable sense of purpose? We've seen evidence of this before. In Guardians of the Galaxy, the Power Stone nearly kills Peter Quill, but he manages to withstand it, only after holding hands with his team, forming a unified will. The Soul Stone, on the other hand, requires a true sacrifice, one that carries emotional and existential weight. This suggests that the stones don't just operate on raw strength alone, they demand conviction. And that brings us back to Thanos. Unlike Stark, whose final snap was an act of desperate defiance, or Hulk, who struggled with the immense burden, Thanos wielded the stones calmly, without hesitation. Was this because in his own mind, he truly believed he was doing the right thing? If the stones respond to willpower, purpose, and certainty, then Thanos, unshaken in his belief that he was saving the universe, may have been the perfect wielder. Contrast this with Red Skull. He sought the Tesseract's power, yet the stones denied him, and instead condemned him to a cursed existence as the guardian of the Soul Stone. Why could Thanos claim the ultimate power, while Red Skull was cast aside? Perhaps the stones do not just choose based on power, but on whether the wielder believes without a doubt that their actions serve a higher purpose. So what if in the end, Thanos wasn't just strong enough to wield the Infinity Stones? What if the stones let him? The hidden truth behind the snap Thanos' physicality throughout the films defies logic for someone of his supposed moral standing. He's portrayed as a villain, constantly fighting against the heroes, and yet he shows mercy repeatedly. During the Battle of Wakanda, Thanos could have killed all the Avengers who stood in his way, but instead, he merely incapacitates them, using the minimum force necessary to achieve his goal. What if these were not acts of arrogance or overconfidence? What if Thanos was using restraint deliberately, knowing that the universe would need heroes after his work was done? In this context, his survival strategy becomes less about cruelty and more about necessary sacrifice. Then there's the question of his ability to influence others. In Infinity War, Thanos convinces Gamora to reveal the location of the Soul Stone through what appears to be torture of Nebula. This moment is subtle but shows how susceptible even the strongest-willed are to Thanos' logic. Now consider Thanos in Endgame when he realizes the Avengers are trying to undo his work. His speech is passionate and convinced, yet it works. He nearly defeats them all. Some supporters of the theory suggest that Thanos may have been using a form of cosmic truth, similar to Doctor Strange's insights into possible futures, to subtly influence those around him. An important part of this theory also touches on the idea that the MCU originally intended for Thanos to be revealed as a misunderstood savior, but this plotline was abandoned due to the overwhelmingly negative reception to the character as a villain. While there is no concrete evidence to back up this claim, the Russo brothers have gone on record saying that Thanos was meant to be a complex antagonist with understandable motivations. Thanos' single-mindedness, his seeming lack of personal ambition beyond his mission, and his frequent proximity to cosmic power make him an ideal candidate for someone operating with a higher purpose. The fact that he destroys the stones after completing his mission suggests he wasn't seeking power for himself. He was completing a task he viewed as necessary, regardless of the personal cost. The stark reality: Tony created Ultron to prepare Earth for Thanos. The theory that Tony Stark deliberately created Ultron as a response to a greater threat is one of the more chilling ideas to emerge from the Marvel saga. It reinterprets Tony's entire existence, turning him from a hero of impulse into the result of dark calculation. While Age of Ultron only hints at this possibility, it's easy to see why fans latched onto the idea there are just too many coincidences surrounding Ultron's creation for it to be purely accidental. In Age of Ultron, Tony tells Bruce Banner the story of his vision, his former fear. According to Tony, he saw a future where all the Avengers were dead and Earth was defenseless against an alien invasion. Tony's tone during this conversation is almost conspiratorial, as if he's dropping hints to Bruce without fully revealing his hand. Could Tony have learned about Thanos' impending arrival and used it to manipulate Bruce into helping create Ultron? Tony's motivations have always been layered with paranoia and foresight. His near-death experience in the Avengers, carrying a nuclear missile through the wormhole, didn't just change him, it may have given him a glimpse of what was coming. This traumatic experience has long been seen as the trigger for his PTSD and subsequent obsession with creating defensive systems. But what if this wasn't just trauma? What if Tony glimpsed something on the other side of that wormhole, perhaps a hint of Thanos and his plans? The theory suggests that Tony, perhaps even before the events of Age of Ultron, had become aware of the threat Thanos posed and was desperately trying to prepare Earth's defenses. This would make Ultron not the product of Tony's hubris, but rather the result of a calculated risk designed to protect Earth from an existential threat. If Tony did create Ultron with knowledge of Thanos, it would completely reframe his actions throughout the MCU. Rather than being a reckless inventor whose creations often backfire, Tony would be a strategic planner, making difficult choices for the greater good. This would add a tragic layer to Tony's story, turning him into a man carrying the weight of future knowledge that no one else possessed. The deeper meaning behind "I am Iron Man." There are several moments in the MCU that, when viewed through the lens of this theory, seem to support the idea that Tony had a direct hand in preparing Earth for Thanos' arrival. Tony's obsessive interest in advanced technology is one of them. From the moment we meet Tony in Iron Man, he's pushing the boundaries of what's possible, creating increasingly sophisticated suits and defense systems. In Age of Ultron, Tony continues this pattern, developing technologies that seem excessive for the threats the Avengers have faced so far. By the time Civil War rolls around, Tony's preparation has reached new heights, with his development of nanotechnology that will eventually be crucial in the fight against Thanos. But Tony's manipulation goes beyond just technology. The theory suggests that Tony had a vested interest in keeping the Avengers together, even as internal conflicts threatened to tear them apart. In Civil War, when the team fractures over the Sokovia Accords, Tony doesn't simply let the dissenters go, he actively tries to bring them back into the fold, albeit through controversial means. In Infinity War, when Tony recounts his fears to Doctor Strange, he does so with an air of satisfaction, as if he's not just telling a story, but revealing his own involvement in Earth's preparation. Tony tells Strange that he's been preparing for Thanos' arrival for years, but he doesn't mention how he knew Thanos was coming. Yet the implication is clear: if Tony had foreknowledge of Thanos, then it stands to reason that Ultron's creation was not an accident but part of Tony's grand design all along. Tony's extreme dedication to saving the universe also raises questions about his motivations. From a young age, Tony exhibits an unprecedented level of genius, something that even his father was unsure how to handle. If Tony truly was preparing for Thanos' arrival, then this would explain why he is so uniquely driven. It was no accident. Tony may have been crafting the ultimate defense system from the very start. The Watcher in Plain Sight. Stan Lee's true identity. The theory that Stan Lee was actually playing the Watcher in all his MCU cameos offers a practical interpretation of his recurring appearances. It emphasizes the internal consistency of the MCU, shedding light on how a seemingly random series of cameos might actually be part of a deeper narrative. To understand this theory, we need to first consider what the Watchers actually are. Established in the comics as ancient beings who observe the universe but are forbidden from interfering, the Watchers have a unique role in Marvel lore. They are cosmic entities who witness and record events throughout the multiverse, maintaining a strict policy of non-intervention. At first glance, Stan Lee's cameos seem like fun Easter eggs, a tribute to the legendary co-creator of Marvel's greatest heroes. But what if they were something more? What if every time we saw him, he wasn't just a bystander, but the Watcher himself, silently recording the events that shaped the MCU? The strongest supporting point for this theory is the scene in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where Stan Lee is explicitly shown conversing with other Watchers. In this scene, Lee is recounting his experiences as a FedEx delivery man, a reference to his cameo in Captain America: Civil War, suggesting that his various appearances throughout the MCU are actually the same character in different disguises. This perspective changes how we interpret Stan Lee's cameos. Rather than being random characters, each appearance becomes a moment where the Watcher is present to observe a significant event in the universe. From Tony Stark's public revelation as Iron Man to the Battle of New York, the Watcher is there, documenting these pivotal moments for cosmic records. The cosmic observer's many faces, Stan Lee's physicality throughout the films defies logic for someone who would be aging normally. His cameos span decades of in-universe time, yet he always appears as a spry, enthusiastic older gentleman. What if this consistency wasn't just because it was Stan Lee playing himself, but because he was portraying an immortal being who could take any form? During the Battle of New York in The Avengers, Stan Lee makes a cameo as a chess player, dismissing the alien invasion as typical New York. This moment is subtle but shows how the Watcher might view even cataclysmic events with a sense of cosmic perspective. Now consider Stan Lee in Thor: Ragnarok, when he appears as a barber on Saka. His speech is quirky and humorous, yet it works. He manages to be present at a crucial moment in Thor's journey. Some supporters of the theory suggest that the Watcher may have been using these seemingly random appearances to subtly influence events, bending but not breaking his vow of non-intervention. An important part of this theory also touches on the idea that Marvel Studios originally intended for Stan Lee to be revealed as the Watcher in a more explicit way, but this plotline was kept subtle out of respect for the character's comic book origins. While there is no concrete evidence to back up this claim, Kevin Feige has gone on record saying that Stan Lee's cameos were meant to be more than just fun appearances. Stan Lee's consistent presence at pivotal moments, his seeming agelessness, and his explicit connection to the Watchers in Guardians Volume 2 make him an ideal candidate for a cosmic observer, hiding in plain sight. The fact that he appears in moments of both triumph and tragedy suggests he wasn't just making random appearances, he was documenting the full spectrum of the MCU's history. The multiverse manipulation, Doctor Strange's darkest choice. The theory that Doctor Strange deliberately chose the one timeline where Tony Stark dies adds a profound layer of moral ambiguity to his character. It suggests that Strange wasn't just looking for any victory against Thanos, but a specific victory that would reshape the Avengers and the power dynamics of Earth. In Infinity War, Strange uses the Time Stone to view 14,605 possible futures, finding only one where they succeed against Thanos. The theory proposes that Strange saw multiple paths to victory, but deliberately chose the one that required Tony's sacrifice. Why? Because Strange recognized that Tony's continued existence posed its own dangers to the universe. let's examine the evidence. Throughout the MCU, Tony Stark demonstrates an increasing God complex. From creating Ultron to the Sokovia Accords, Tony repeatedly makes unilateral decisions that affect the entire world. His technological innovations, while often well-intentioned, consistently create new threats. By Civil War, Tony has positioned himself as the arbiter of who should have power and how it should be used, a dangerous position for any one person to hold. The theory suggests that Strange, with his ability to see the future, realized that a world where Tony Stark lived after defeating Thanos wouldn't stay at peace for long. Whether through his own actions or the ripple effects of his technology, Tony might have created new threats even more dangerous than Thanos. By choosing the timeline where Tony sacrifices himself, Strange ensures not only Thanos' defeat, but also the removal of a potential future threat. This interpretation adds complexity to Strange's character, suggesting he made a coldly utilitarian choice, sacrificing Tony to save countless others from future dangers that Tony might inadvertently create. It transforms Strange from a straightforward hero into someone willing to manipulate events and people to achieve what he sees as the greater good. The calculated sacrifice considers Strange's behavior in Infinity War and Endgame through this lens. When he gives up the Time Stone to save Tony, he tells him there was no other way. This could be interpreted not just as a statement about defeating Thanos, but about the necessity of the path he's chosen, one that leads to Tony's death. In Endgame, Strange's single raised finger to Tony in the final battle takes on new meaning. It's not just signaling that this is their one chance to win, it's Strange confirming to himself that they're on the specific timeline he selected, the one where Tony doesn't survive. This theory doesn't diminish Tony's heroic sacrifice, but adds a layer of tragedy to it. Tony believes he's making a choice, but in reality, Strange has already determined his fate. It suggests that even in his moment of greatest heroism, Tony is still a piece being moved on Strange's cosmic chessboard. If true, this theory fundamentally reshapes how we view Doctor Strange. His willingness to sacrifice Tony for the greater good makes him a more morally ambiguous character, someone who sees the big picture but might lose sight of individual worth in the process. It raises questions about whether Strange has the right to make such calculations and whether the ends truly justify his means. The Winter Soldier's hidden mission. Bucky remembered everything. The theory that Bucky Barnes retained his memories throughout his time as the Winter Soldier, but was powerless to stop himself, adds a horrifying dimension to his character arc. It suggests that Bucky wasn't just a mindless assassin, he was a conscious prisoner in his own body, aware of every kill but unable to prevent them. In the MCU, Bucky is portrayed as having been brainwashed by Hydra, turned into a compliant assassin through torture and mind control. The standard interpretation is that during his missions, Bucky had no recollection of his true identity or moral compass. But what if that wasn't entirely true? The evidence for this theory lies in subtle moments throughout Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and subsequent films. When Bucky first encounters Steve on the bridge, and Steve calls him by name, there's a flicker of recognition. Who the hell is Bucky? Suggesting not complete ignorance, but rather confusion or denial. Later, when Steve reminds him of their past on the helicarrier, the air, "I'm with you till the end of the line," Bucky's expression changes dramatically, and he ultimately saves Steve from drowning. These moments suggest that Bucky's memories weren't completely erased but suppressed, occasionally breaking through the programming. The theory takes this further, proposing that Bucky was always partially aware, fighting a constant internal battle against Hydra's control. If true, this would make Bucky's story far more tragic. Imagine being trapped inside your own mind, forced to watch as your body carries out assassinations, including Howard and Maria Stark, the parents of a man he would one day call an ally. Imagine remembering your friendship with Steve Rogers while being forced to try to kill him. The psychological horror of this scenario would explain Bucky's profound guilt and his willingness to return to cryogenic sleep in Wakanda, rather than risk hurting others again. The prisoner of his own mind. This theory also explains Bucky's behavior after breaking free from Hydra's control. His immediate instinct is to learn about his victims and his past crimes, suggesting not discovery but confirmation. His notebook full of memories in Civil War indicates someone trying to organize what he already knew, rather than someone learning new information. The theory reshapes how we understand Bucky's journey from villain to hero. It's not about recovering lost memories, it's about regaining control over his own body and actions. His redemption becomes even more meaningful when we consider that he might have been fighting against Hydra's programming the entire time, even when he couldn't win that fight. If Bucky retained awareness during his time as the Winter Soldier, it would also deepen the significance of his friendship with Steve. Steve's unwavering faith in Bucky wasn't just about believing his friend could be recovered. It was about recognizing that Bucky was still in there, trapped and fighting to get out. This interpretation doesn't absolve Bucky of the Winter Soldier's actions, but it does transform our understanding of his suffering. He becomes not just a victim of mind control, but someone who endured decades of being forced to commit atrocities while fully aware of what he was doing, a special kind of hell that few characters in the MCU could comprehend. The true purpose of the Infinity Stones, cosmic balance. The theory that the Infinity Stones weren't just objects of power, but conscious entities with their own agenda, adds a cosmic dimension to the MCU's central MacGuffins. It suggests that the stones weren't merely tools to be used by beings like Thanos, but were actively participating in the universe's evolution, perhaps even orchestrating events to achieve a greater balance. Throughout the MCU, the Infinity Stones appear at pivotal moments, often changing hands in ways that seem coincidental, but could be deliberate. The Space Stone Tesseract brings Loki to Earth, setting in motion the formation of the Avengers. The Mind Stone creates both Ultron and Vision, two artificial intelligences with vastly different perspectives on humanity. The Time Stone finds its way to the Ancient One, and then to Doctor Strange, individuals uniquely positioned to safeguard reality. This theory suggests that these coincidences weren't coincidences at all. Instead, the stones were subtly exerting influence, guiding themselves to the right people at the right time, ensuring the universe's balance. As fragments of creation itself, they weren't just passive objects of power, but active forces shaping reality, not unlike the Watchers, but with the ability to intervene. Consider how the Reality Stone Aether infected Jane Foster, a human who happened to be in exactly the right place at the right time to discover it. Or how the Power Stone revealed itself on Morag just as Star-Lord arrived to steal it. These moments, viewed through the lens of this theory, become deliberate choices by the stones to move themselves into position for what was to come. The most compelling evidence for this theory comes from how the stones interact with those who wield them. The Mind Stone doesn't just give Wanda powers, it gives her specific abilities that will later be crucial in fighting Thanos. The Time Stone doesn't just show Doctor Strange possible futures, it guides him toward the one specific outcome, where balance is restored. These aren't random effects, they're calculated influences, the cosmic chess game. If the Infinity Stones are conscious entities, then the entire Infinity Saga becomes a cosmic chess game, with the stones as both pieces and players. Thanos believes he's the mastermind, collecting the stones to reshape reality, according to his vision. But what if the stones allowed themselves to be collected, because Thanos' snap, however devastating, was necessary for some greater cosmic purpose? This interpretation reframes the snap not as a tragedy, but as a calculated move in a larger game of balance. The stones, knowing that the universe was heading toward collapse due to overpopulation and resource depletion, may have guided themselves to Thanos precisely because he had the will to do what others wouldn't. Consider how the stones behave during key moments in the MCU. The Space Stone sends Red Skull to Vorma, placing him as guardian of the Soul Stone. The Time Stone shows Doctor Strange exactly 14,605 futures, guiding him to the one where balance is ultimately restored. The Reality Stone infects Jane Foster, bringing her into contact with Thor and eventually leading to its discovery by the Guardians. These aren't coincidences, they're deliberate moves by conscious entities working toward a greater purpose. If the stones are indeed sentient, it would explain why they seem to choose their wielders. Not everyone can harness their power, and those who do often share certain qualities: a strong will, a clear purpose, and the capacity to understand the stone's true nature. This selective compatibility suggests the stones aren't just tools, but discerning entities with their own criteria for who may wield them. The stone's grand design. The theory that the Infinity Stones are conscious also explains their eventual destruction. After Thanos uses them to fulfill their purpose, restoring balance to the universe, he destroys them, claiming they served no purpose beyond temptation. But what if the stones allowed themselves to be destroyed because their work was done? Their physical forms may have been eliminated, but their essence, the fundamental forces they represent, remains woven into the fabric of reality. This perspective transforms our understanding of the entire Infinity Saga. The conflict between the Avengers and Thanos wasn't just a battle between heroes and villain, it was a carefully orchestrated dance, directed by the stones themselves, with both sides playing necessary roles in a cosmic drama of balance and renewal. The stones' consciousness would also explain why they seem to remember across timelines. When the Avengers travel back in time to collect them, the stones don't resist, they let themselves be taken, as if aware that even this is part of the grand design. Another necessary step toward balance. The Ancient One's reluctance to give up the Time Stone fades when she learns of Strange's plan, suggesting she understands the stone's greater purpose. If this theory is true, it adds a layer of inevitability to the events of the MCU. The hero's struggles, Thanos' quest, and even the snap itself were all part of a grand design orchestrated by entities older than the universe itself. The Infinity Stones weren't just objects to be collected, they were the architects of their own story, guiding the universe toward a balance that only they could fully comprehend. The Wakandan secret, Black Panther knew about the multiverse. The theory that T'Challa and the leaders of Wakanda had knowledge of the multiverse long before it became a crisis adds a fascinating dimension to the secretive African nation. It suggests that Wakanda's technological advancement wasn't just about vibranium, but about understanding the deeper nature of reality itself. Wakanda's isolation from the rest of the world has always been portrayed as a protective measure, a way to shield their vibranium resources from exploitation. But what if this isolation served another purpose? What if the Wakandas, through their advanced understanding of vibranium and its properties, had discovered the existence of the multiverse and the dangers it posed? The evidence for this theory lies in subtle details throughout Black Panther and other MCU films. The Wakandan technology, particularly their use of vibranium, often seems to operate on principles that defy conventional physics. The heart-shaped herb that grants the Black Panther his powers creates a spiritual connection to the ancestral plane, a realm that exists outside normal space and time. This suggests the Wakandans have long understood that reality is more complex than it appears. Furthermore, Shuri's technological innovations often seem years ahead of even Tony Stark's creations. Her understanding of energy manipulation and consciousness transfer, as seen when she attempts to remove the Mind Stone from Vision, hints at knowledge that goes beyond conventional science. Could this advanced understanding come from awareness of how these principles work across different realities? The astral plane and beyond the ancestral plane that T'Challa visits after consuming the heart-shaped herb may be more than just a spiritual realm. It could be a gateway to understanding the multiverse. When T'Challa communes with his ancestors, he's experiencing a form of reality that exists outside normal space-time, similar to how the multiverse operates with parallel dimensions existing simultaneously. This connection to the ancestral plane might have given generations of Black Panthers insights into the multiverse's existence long before the events of Endgame or Loki brought it to the forefront of the MCU. The Wakandan tradition of passing down knowledge from one Black Panther to the next would have preserved this understanding, keeping it secret from the outside world. Wakandan's advanced technology, particularly their virtual reality systems and Kimoyo beads, also suggests a deeper understanding of how information and energy can transcend physical limitations. The beads can project three-dimensional images, store vast amounts of data, and connect users across great distances, technologies that might have been developed through an understanding of how information exists across multiple realities. If T'Challa and the Wakandan leadership did indeed know about the multiverse, it would explain their cautious approach to engaging with the outside world. They would understand that threats could come not just from other nations, but from other realities entirely. Their decision to finally open Wakanda to the world at the end of Black Panther might have been motivated by recognizing that multiverse threats would require a united response from all of humanity. The Guardians of Knowledge. This theory also casts Wakanda's role in the Battle of Infinity War in a new light. When Thanos' forces attack Earth, the Avengers take their stand in Wakanda. This could be because the Wakandans, with their knowledge of the multiverse, understood the true stakes of Thanos' plan better than anyone else. They knew that the snap wouldn't just affect their reality, but could have implications across the multiverse. The theory that Wakanda knew about the multiverse also connects to the role of Bashenga, the first Black Panther. According to Wakandan legend, Bashenga was a shaman who received a vision from the panther goddess Bast, leading him to the heart-shaped herb. What if this vision wasn't just about protecting Wakanda, but about preparing for threats that transcended their reality? Throughout Wakandan history, their leaders have maintained a delicate balance, advancing their technology while preserving their traditions. This balance might reflect their understanding of the multiverse's nature, where change and stability must coexist. By keeping their knowledge secret, they protected not just their nation, but potentially the stability of their reality. If this theory is true, it adds a new dimension to T'Challa's character and the role of Wakanda in the MCU. They weren't just advanced, they were guardians of knowledge that the rest of the world wasn't ready to comprehend. Their secrecy wasn't just about protecting vibranium, it was about protecting reality itself from forces that could tear it apart. The quantum realm's true purpose: a prison for cosmic entities. The theory that the quantum realm was originally designed as a prison for dangerous cosmic entities adds a sinister undertone to what seemed like a fascinating scientific frontier. This interpretation suggests that the microscopic dimension isn't just a strange place where time and space behave differently. It's a carefully constructed containment system for beings too powerful to exist in our reality. The evidence for this theory begins with the quantum realm's unusual properties. As established in Ant-Man and the Wasp, the quantum realm is a place where the normal laws of physics don't apply. Time works differently there. Space is warped, and reality itself seems malleable. These aren't just interesting scientific anomalies, they could be deliberate safeguards designed to disorient and contain powerful entities. The presence of Janet Van Dyne in the quantum realm for decades without aging significantly suggests that the realm preserves those within it, keeping them in a state of suspended animation. This preservation effect would be perfect for containing immortal or long-lived cosmic threats, keeping them trapped in a place where they can neither die nor escape. Furthermore, the difficulty in accessing the quantum realm, requiring specific technology or circumstances, could be interpreted as a security measure. The quantum tunnel developed by Hank Pym isn't just a scientific breakthrough. It might be an accidental key unlocking doors that were never meant to be opened. The time vortexes and trapped entities. One of the most telling pieces of evidence for this theory is Janet's warning about time vortexes in the quantum realm. These mysterious phenomena could be more than natural features. They might be pathways created by imprisoned entities attempting to escape. The warning to avoid them suggests that these vortexes could connect to dangerous areas within the realm where these entities are contained. The theory also explains the strange beings glimpsed in the quantum realm during Scott Lang's journeys. These aren't just exotic life forms that evolved in this microscopic dimension. They could be lesser guardians or servants of the imprisoned entities, or perhaps even fragments of the entities themselves, taking form in the only reality available to them. If the quantum realm is indeed a prison, the question becomes who built it. The most likely candidates would be ancient cosmic beings like the Celestials, who have demonstrated the power to manipulate reality on a fundamental level. The Celestials, known for their role in creating the Infinity Stones and shaping entire planets, would have both the motivation and ability to create such a prison for threats even they couldn't destroy. This perspective casts Ant-Man's adventures in a new light. His journeys into the quantum realm weren't just scientific exploration, they were unwitting intrusions into a cosmic prison, potentially disturbing entities that were meant to remain contained. Each time the Avengers used the quantum realm for time travel in Endgame, they might have been weakening the barriers keeping these entities trapped. The looming threat. The theory that the quantum realm is a prison also provides a perfect setup for future MCU threats. As the barriers between our reality and the quantum realm weaken due to repeated travel and experimentation, these ancient imprisoned entities could begin to influence our world or even escape entirely. This could explain the increasing multiverse problems seen in recent MCU entries. The events of Loki, WandaVision, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness might not just be coincidental timeline issues, they could be the direct result of destabilizing the quantum realm's containment properties, allowing these entities to reach out across realities. If this theory holds true, it transforms the quantum realm from a scientific curiosity into one of the most dangerous elements of the MCU. What began as a way for Ant-Man to shrink beyond the subatomic level becomes the potential source of threats that could dwarf even Thanos in their scope and power. The prison theory also adds a moral dimension to the Avengers' use of the quantum realm. Their time heist, while necessary to undo Thanos' snap, may have inadvertently set in motion events that could lead to even greater catastrophes. The price of saving half the universe may have been opening a door that was never meant to be unlocked, releasing entities so powerful that even reality itself was forged into their prison. The Skrulls' secret agenda, preparing Earth for Galactus. The theory that the Skrulls have been preparing Earth for the arrival of Galactus adds a chilling dimension to their seemingly benevolent presence in the MCU. While Captain Marvel and Far From Home portrayed the Skrulls as refugees and allies, this theory suggests their true motives may be far more complex and potentially sinister. The evidence begins with the Skrulls' unique ability to perfectly mimic humans, allowing them to infiltrate every level of society without detection. This infiltration, rather than being a simple survival tactic, could be part of a coordinated effort to assess Earth's defenses and gradually manipulate its development in preparation for Galactus's arrival. Talos, the Skrull leader introduced in Captain Marvel, is shown to be sympathetic and even heroic. But what if this is merely a facade? His position close to Nick Fury, one of Earth's primary defenders, gives him unprecedented access to information about Earth's heroes and defense capabilities. By the time of Far From Home, Talos is even impersonating Fury, putting him in direct control of how Earth responds to threats. The Skrulls' interest in Earth could stem from their knowledge of Galactus's feeding patterns. As a devourer of worlds, Galactus is drawn to planets rich in energy and life. Earth, having survived multiple alien invasions and cosmic events, has proven itself to be exceptionally resilient and energy-rich, making it a prime target for Galactus. The long game. If the Skrulls are indeed preparing Earth for Galactus, their strategy would be long-term and subtle. Rather than conquering Earth themselves, they would focus on ensuring it develops in ways that make it more appealing to Galactus. This could include 1. Encouraging the development and use of energy technologies that make Earth more visible to Galactus. 2. Subtly undermining potential defense systems that might repel Galactus. 3. Gathering intelligence on Earth's heroes to identify and neutralize those who might pose the greatest threat to Galactus. The theory suggests that the Skrulls aren't necessarily villains in the traditional sense. They may see themselves as serving a necessary cosmic function, helping Galactus find suitable worlds to consume in exchange for their own planets being spared. This arrangement would explain how the Skrulls have survived despite being a refugee species hunted by the Kree. The presence of SWORE in the MCU adds another layer to this theory. The organization dedicated to dealing with extraterrestrial threats could have been infiltrated by Skrulls at its inception. This would allow them to monitor and potentially redirect Earth's space defense efforts away from detecting Galactus's approach. The cosmic balance. This theory also connects to the broader cosmic themes of the MCU. Galactus in Marvel Comics isn't simply a villain. He's a necessary force of cosmic balance, consuming old worlds to enable the birth of new ones. The Skrulls may understand this cosmic role and see their actions not as betrayal but as serving a greater purpose in the universe's cycle of death and rebirth. If the Skrulls are preparing Earth for Galactus, it would explain their continued interest in the planet despite the resolution of their conflict with the Kree. Their presence isn't just about finding a new home, it's about fulfilling their role in a cosmic arrangement that has allowed them to survive as a species. The revelation of such an agenda would create a morally complex situation for Earth's heroes. The Skrulls wouldn't be simple invaders but beings caught in their own struggle for survival, serving a cosmic entity that, while destructive, plays a necessary role in the universe. This moral complexity would elevate the conflict beyond a simple battle between good and evil, forcing heroes to confront questions about cosmic balance and the price of survival. If this theory proves true, it would transform the Skrulls from allies into one of the most subtle and effective threats the MCU has ever seen. Not because they're inherently evil, but because their survival depends on sacrificing Earth to a force of nature beyond comprehension. The eternal conflict, Celestials versus Galactus. The theory that the Eternals were created not just to combat deviants but to prepare Earth for the Celestials' emergence while protecting it from Galactus adds a cosmic layer of complexity to the MCU. This interpretation suggests that Earth has long been caught in a tug-of-war between two of the universe's most powerful forces, the Celestials who seed planets with life to birth new Celestials, and Galactus who consumes worlds to maintain cosmic balance. The evidence for this theory begins with the Eternals' mission on Earth. While officially tasked with protecting humanity from deviants, the Eternals were actually ensuring Earth's population grew sufficiently to provide the energy needed for the birth of a new celestial Tiamat. This hidden agenda reveals that the Celestials view Earth as an investment, a cosmic incubator for one of their own. But if Earth is valuable to the Celestials, it would also be a target for Galactus, whose role in the cosmic ecosystem is to consume energy-rich planets. The Celestials, aware of this threat, would need to protect their investment without revealing their true intentions to the inhabitants of Earth. The Eternals, with their godlike powers and immortality, would be perfect guardians against not just deviants but also the threat of Galactus. This cosmic conflict would explain why the Eternals were instructed not to interfere in human conflicts unless deviants were involved. Their true purpose wasn't to guide human development for its own sake, but to ensure humanity survived and thrived enough to feed the growing celestial within Earth. Any interference in human affairs risked drawing attention to Earth, potentially attracting Galactus's notice prematurely. The cosmic chessboard. If Earth is indeed a battleground between Celestials and Galactus, many events in the MCU take on new significance. The emergence of superpowered beings on Earth could be seen as the Celestials' way of creating additional defenses against Galactus. By allowing or even encouraging the development of heroes like the Avengers, the Celestials ensure Earth has protectors who can potentially repel Galactus when he eventually arrives. The theory also explains why the Eternals were kept in the dark about their true purpose. If they knew they were merely shepherding humanity toward eventual sacrifice to birth a Celestial, they might rebel, as indeed some did when they learned the truth. By compartmentalizing information, the Celestials ensured the Eternals would protect Earth from all threats, including Galactus, without questioning why. The presence of a Celestial's embryo within Earth would make the planet especially attractive to Galactus, who feeds on the energy of worlds. A planet incubating a Celestial would contain vastly more energy than an ordinary world, making Earth not just a meal but a feast for the devourer of worlds. This would explain why the Celestials would need especially powerful guardians like the Eternals to protect it. This cosmic conflict also sheds light on why beings like the Watcher observe Earth so closely. The planet isn't just another world, it's a crucial piece on a cosmic chessboard, with two of the universe's most powerful forces competing for its future. The outcome of this conflict could have implications that ripple across the multiverse. The coming confrontation. If this theory holds true, it sets the stage for an epic confrontation in the MCU's future. With Tiamat's emergence prevented by the Eternals' rebellion, Earth is now in an unprecedented position, no longer serving its purpose as a celestial incubator, but still containing the immense energy that would have fueled Tiamat's birth. This energy, now untethered from its original purpose, would make Earth an even more tempting target for Galactus. Without the Celestials' active protection, as the Eternals have now broken from their programming, Earth would be more vulnerable than ever to Galactus's hunger. The theory transforms the Eternals' decision to stop Tiamat's emergence from a simple act of protecting humanity into a far more complex choice with cosmic consequences. By preventing a new Celestial's birth, they may have inadvertently made Earth more vulnerable to Galactus, trading one cosmic threat for another. This interpretation adds layers of moral complexity to the MCU's cosmic landscape. Neither the Celestials nor Galactus are simply evil. Both serve necessary functions in the universe's ecosystem. The Celestials create new life and new worlds, while Galactus maintains cosmic balance by consuming excess energy. Earth's heroes, including the Eternals, are caught between these forces, trying to carve out a path that allows humanity to survive amid conflicts that span billions of years and countless worlds. If the Eternals were indeed created as guardians against both deviants and Galactus, their story becomes even more tragic. Immortal beings created as pawns in a cosmic game, forced to choose between serving their creator's agenda or protecting the humanity they've come to love, all while a greater threat looms on the horizon. The multiversal mastermind, Kang's grand design. The evidence for this theory begins with the events of Loki, where He Who Remains, a variant of Kang, reveals that he ended a multiversal war between his variants by establishing the sacred timeline. While he claims this was to prevent further conflict, this theory suggests a more selfish motive. By controlling the flow of time, He Who Remains wasn't just preventing war, he was systematically eliminating any timeline where potential rivals to his power might emerge. Consider how the TVA operates under He Who Remains' direction. They don't just prune random timeline branches, they specifically target variants who deviate from the predetermined path. This selective pruning could be interpreted as Kang methodically removing anyone who might develop the ability to challenge him across the multiverse. The theory gains further credibility when we examine the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, where we meet Kang the Conqueror exiled to the quantum realm by his variants. His exile suggests that the variants of Kang are constantly working to undermine each other, with each seeking to be the supreme version across all realities. The multiversal chess game. If Kang is indeed manipulating events across the multiverse, then many pivotal moments in the MCU take on new significance. The Avengers time heist in Endgame, for instance, could have been part of Kang's grand design, creating the necessary nexus events to fracture the sacred timeline and set the stage for his emergence as the dominant force in the multiverse. This theory also explains why certain characters seem to have been systematically removed from the playing field. Iron Man's death, Vision's destruction, and other key losses might not be coincidental but calculated moves by Kang to eliminate beings with the potential to challenge his technological supremacy. By removing these intellects from the board, Kang ensures that no one can develop the time travel technology needed to oppose him. The appearance of the Council of Kangs in the post-credit scene of Quantumania further supports this theory. The gathering of countless Kang variants suggests not just cooperation but competition, each variant seeking to outmaneuver the others in a complex game of multiversal chess. Their goal isn't just conquest but the elimination of any other Kang who might claim supremacy. The ultimate puppet master. This theory transforms our understanding of recent MCU events. What if the multiverse wasn't fractured by accident but by design? The actions of Sylvie in killing He Who Remains, Doctor Strange's spell in No Way Home, and Wanda's reality manipulation in WandaVision might all be part of a grand scheme orchestrated by Kang to create chaos across the multiverse. Chaos that only he has the knowledge to navigate and exploit. If true, this makes Kang far more dangerous than any previous MCU villain. Unlike Thanos, whose goal was a misguided form of balance, Kang seeks absolute control not just of one universe but of all universe. His manipulation extends beyond physical confrontation to the very fabric of reality itself. The theory also adds significance to the quantum realm's prominence in recent MCU stories. As a place outside normal time and space, the quantum realm would be the perfect vantage point from which Kang could observe and manipulate the multiverse. His exile there might not have been a punishment but a strategic position, allowing him to work unseen while other variants battle for supremacy in more visible realms. This multiversal manipulation would make Kang not just a conqueror but a puppeteer, pulling strings across infinite realities to ensure his ultimate victory. The heroes of the MCU wouldn't just be fighting a time-traveling warlord, they'd be opposing a being who has already calculated their every move across countless timelines, eliminating any reality where they might succeed. If this theory holds true, the coming conflict with Kang won't just be a battle for Earth or even the universe, it will be a struggle for the fate of all possible realities, with Kang having already spent eons ensuring that the odds are stacked firmly in his favor. The Secret War, Battleworld, and the Multiverse. One of the most intriguing theories surrounding the future of the MCU involves the potential adaptation of the Secret Wars storyline, which could see Kang's multiversal manipulation culminate in the creation of Battleworld, a patchwork planet composed of fragments from different realities. In the comics, Secret Wars involves the collapse of the multiverse, with pieces of different universes being salvaged and stitched together to form Battleworld, ruled by Doctor Doom. However, the MCU version could replace Doom with Kang as the architect of this new reality, using his mastery of time and the multiverse to create a domain where he reigns supreme. This theory suggests that Kang's ultimate goal isn't just to conquer individual timelines, but to collapse them all into a single reality that he can control absolutely. By engineering conflicts across the multiverse, Kang could be weakening the barriers between realities, setting the stage for their eventual collapse and the birth of Battleworld. The evidence for this theory can be found in the increasing emphasis on multiversal threats in recent MCU projects. From the timeline branches in Loki to the multiverse, rifts in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the MCU has been steadily building toward a crisis point where the walls between realities begin to crumble. If this theory proves correct, it would transform Kang from a conqueror into a godlike figure, reshaping reality itself to suit his vision. The heroes of the MCU would face not just the challenge of defeating Kang but of restoring the multiverse to its proper state, a task that might require sacrifices even greater than those made in the fight against Thanos. The mutant mystery, X-Men's hidden integration, the theory that mutants have always existed in the MCU but have been deliberately hidden or suppressed, adds a fascinating layer to the universe's expanding narrative. With Disney's acquisition of Fox bringing the X-Men into the MCU fold, fans have wondered how these iconic characters will be integrated into a world that has never mentioned them. This theory suggests that mutants, humans born with the X gene that grants them superhuman abilities, have always been part of the MCU but have remained in the shadows, either by choice or through external forces. Several possible explanations support this theory. First, there's the possibility that a powerful entity has been manipulating reality to keep mutants hidden. This could be Wanda Maximoff, whose reality-altering powers in WandaVision demonstrated her ability to reshape the world on a massive scale. Perhaps in a moment of crisis, Wanda unconsciously altered reality to protect mutants, including herself, potentially retconned as a mutant rather than being created by the Mind Stone. Alternatively, Charles Xavier, the world's most powerful telepath, could have used his abilities to shield mutants from public awareness, creating a psychic blind spot in the collective consciousness of humanity. This would explain why even organizations like S.H.I.E.L.D. and S.W.O.R.D. have never acknowledged mutants. They literally cannot perceive them due to Xavier's influence. Another compelling aspect of this theory involves the snap and the blip. When Thanos eliminated half of all life and the Avengers later restored it, the massive energy release could have activated dormant X genes in the population, leading to a sudden emergence of mutants in the post-Endgame world. This would provide a clean entry point for mutants without requiring extensive retconning. The theory gains further credibility when we consider the introduction of Kamala Khan in Ms. Marvel, where her powers were connected to her genetic makeup rather than being purely technology-based as in the comics. This subtle shift could be laying the groundwork for the revelation that certain individuals in the MCU have always had genetic potential for powers, the very definition of mutants. If this theory proves true, it would dramatically reshape our understanding of the MCU's history. Events we've witnessed might take on new meaning when viewed through the lens of mutant involvement. The revelation that mutants have always existed would add depth to the universe while opening countless storytelling possibilities for the future. The Celestial Conspiracy, Earth's true purpose. The theory that Earth was never meant to be a home for humanity, but rather an incubator for a celestial, adds a cosmic horror element to the MCU's narrative. While Eternals revealed that a celestial named Tiamat was growing within Earth, this theory takes the concept further, suggesting that the entire planet, including human civilization, was engineered specifically to feed the Celestials' development. According to this theory, the Celestials didn't just seed Earth with the potential for intelligent life, they carefully guided human evolution and history to maximize the energy production needed for Tiamat's emergence. Every major historical event, every technological advancement, and even the rise of superheroes could be seen as calculated steps in the Celestials' grand plan. The evidence for this theory lies in the suspicious timing of humanity's advancement. As explained in Eternals, the energy needed for a Celestial's birth comes from intelligent life on the host planet. The exponential growth of human population and technology over the past century would provide exactly the energy surge needed for Tiamat's final development phase. This theory also explains why Earth has been at the center of so many cosmic events. The numerous alien invasions, the concentration of infinity stones appearing on or near Earth, and even the emergence of so many superheroes could all be part of the Celestials' design, creating the perfect conditions for their new member to be born. If true, this theory casts the Avengers' victories in a new light. By repeatedly saving Earth and its population, they weren't just protecting humanity, they were unwittingly serving the Celestials' agenda, preserving the energy source needed for Tiamat's birth. Only the Eternals' last-minute rebellion disrupted this plan, potentially saving humanity, but also defying the cosmic order. The implications of this theory are profound. If Earth was designed as a celestial incubator, then humanity's entire existence could be seen as a means to an end rather than an end in itself. This existential revelation would force the heroes of the MCU to question not just their place in the universe, but the very purpose of their world. The Skrull infiltration, Secret Invasion's true scope, the theory that Skrulls have infiltrated every level of Earth's power structures, including the Avengers themselves, adds a paranoid edge to the MCU's evolving narrative. While Captain Marvel introduced the Skrulls as refugees and apparent allies, this theory suggests that their true agenda is far more complex and potentially threatening. The evidence begins with the Skrulls' perfect shape-shifting abilities. Unlike other transformation powers in the MCU, Skrull mimicry is complete, copying not just appearance but memories, DNA, and even powers in some cases. This makes them the perfect infiltrators, capable of replacing anyone without detection. The post-credits scene in Spider-Man: Far From Home revealed that Nick Fury had been replaced by the Skrull Talos, suggesting that such substitutions might be more common than we realize. If Fury, one of the most paranoid and security-conscious characters in the MCU, could be replaced, albeit with his knowledge, who else might have been swapped without anyone noticing? This theory proposes that key moments in the MCU might have been influenced by hidden Skrull agents, decisions that seemed questionable, alliances that formed or broke unexpectedly, and even the internal conflicts that divided the Avengers could have been manipulated by Skrulls working toward their own agenda. The potential for a Secret Invasion storyline grows even more intriguing when we consider the power vacuum left after Endgame. With Tony Stark and Natasha Romanoff dead, Steve Rogers retired, and organizations like S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers in disarray, the post-blip world would be the perfect opportunity for Skrulls to consolidate their control. If this theory proves true, it would create an atmosphere of suspicion and paranoia throughout the MCU. Heroes would question whether their allies are who they claim to be, and viewers would re-examine past events for signs of Skrull manipulation. The revelation of a widespread Skrull infiltration would shake the foundations of trust that the Avengers have built over the years, potentially fracturing Earth's defenses at a time when new threats are emerging. The quantum time loop, Doctor Strange's master plan. The theory that Doctor Strange orchestrated a time loop encompassing the events from Infinity War through Endgame adds a layer of complexity to his character and actions. According to this theory, Strange didn't just view 14,605 possible futures, he actively created a temporal loop to ensure the one successful outcome would eventually occur. The evidence begins with Strange's unusual behavior in Infinity War. Despite possessing the Time Stone and demonstrating mastery over temporal manipulation, he surrenders both the stone and his life with surprising calm. His enigmatic statement to Tony Stark, "We're in the endgame now," takes on new meaning. If we consider that Strange might have already set a time loop in motion, this theory suggests that Strange, recognizing that defeating Thanos would require multiple attempts, used the Time Stone to create a loop similar to the one he used against Dormammu in Doctor Strange. Each iteration of the loop would allow the heroes to learn from their failures and gradually move closer to the one successful outcome. The 5-year time jump in Endgame supports this theory. If Strange created a loop, the 5 years between the snap and the time heist would provide crucial development time for key technologies and relationships needed for the final victory. Tony's perfection of time travel technology, Scott Lang's emergence from the quantum realm, and even Carol Danvers' return to Earth could all be elements Strange identified as necessary components of success. If this theory is correct, it transforms our understanding of Strange's sacrifice. His willingness to give up the Time Stone wasn't just a calculated risk, but the triggering of a plan already in motion. The loop would continue until the precise sequence of events leading to Thanos' defeat was achieved. This interpretation also explains why Strange was so specific about not telling Tony what needed to happen. In a time loop scenario, foreknowledge could disrupt the natural development of events, potentially derailing the path to victory. By keeping Tony in the dark, Strange ensured that his actions would unfold organically, leading to the moment of sacrifice that would save the universe. The quantum time loop theory adds depth to Doctor Strange's character, portraying him as a master strategist willing to experience countless iterations of failure to achieve the one path to victory. It suggests that his powers and intellect extend far beyond what we've seen, making him one of the most formidable and far-sighted heroes in the MCU. The cosmic balance, Thanos and Galactus. The theory that Thanos' snap inadvertently prevented a greater threat. The coming of Galactus adds a cosmic irony to the MCU's central conflict. According to this theory, Thanos' decimation of half the universe's population temporarily saved it from becoming Galactus' next meal. Galactus, known in Marvel Comics as the Devourer of Worlds, feeds on the life energy of planets. The more populated and energy-rich a planet is, the more attractive it becomes as a potential feast. Earth, with its burgeoning population and increasing energy output, would be a prime target for Galactus' hunger. This theory suggests that Thanos' snap, by halving the population of every world, significantly reduced the cosmic energy signature that would attract Galactus. The sudden drop in life energy across the universe would have made potential feeding grounds less appealing, potentially delaying Galactus' arrival. The evidence for this theory lies in the cosmic balance that both Thanos and Galactus represent in different ways. Thanos saw himself as bringing balance through population control, while Galactus serves as a natural force of cosmic balance, culling worlds that have grown too energy-rich. These two forces, though opposed in methods and morality, both serve to regulate the universe's energy. If this theory is correct, it adds a tragic dimension to the Avengers' victory in Endgame. By restoring the snap population, they may have inadvertently reactivated the beacon that will draw Galactus to Earth. Their greatest triumph could become the prelude to an even greater threat. This interpretation also recontextualizes Thanos' actions. While still genocidal and morally reprehensible, his snap might have had the unintended consequence of temporarily saving countless worlds from Galactus' hunger. Thanos, in his misguided way, might have been responding to a cosmic imbalance that would have eventually attracted an even deadlier force. The theory creates a perfect setup for Galactus' introduction to the MCU. As the universe recovers from Thanos' snap and life flourishes once more, the cosmic energy signature grows stronger, potentially drawing the attention of the Devourer of Worlds. The heroes who saved the universe from Thanos may soon face a threat that makes the Mad Titan seem merciful by comparison. The Vibranium Truth, Earth's extraterrestrial heritage. The theory that vibranium, the miracle metal at the heart of Wakanda's advanced technology, is actually alien technology left behind by ancient visitors adds a cosmic dimension to Earth's history in the MCU. This theory suggests that vibranium isn't just a rare metal but a form of advanced alien technology that has shaped human development in ways we're only beginning to understand. The evidence begins with the unusual properties of vibranium itself. Its ability to absorb, store, and release kinetic energy defies conventional physics, suggesting origins beyond Earth's natural processes. The meteor that crashed in Wakanda thousands of years ago might not have been a simple asteroid, but a deliberate deposit, perhaps a seed ship or crashed vessel from an advanced civilization. This theory proposes that the civilization that brought vibranium to Earth could be connected to other cosmic entities in the MCU. Perhaps they were early celestials conducting experiments on planetary development, or they might have been Kree scientists, similar to those who later created the Inhumans. The vibranium deposit could even be connected to the Eternals' mission, providing a technological counterpart to their biological influence. The theory gains credibility when we consider how vibranium has accelerated human development. Wakanda's technological advancement far outpaces the rest of Earth, suggesting that vibranium isn't just a resource but a catalyst for innovation. The metal's integration into Wakandan society, from weapons and medicine to communication and transportation, mirrors how an advanced civilization might seed technology to guide a developing world. If vibranium is indeed alien technology, it would explain why it remains largely confined to Wakanda. The crash site might not have been random but targeted, with the alien visitors selecting the isolated region specifically to observe how humans would develop when given access to advanced technology. Wakanda's decision to hide from the world could have been influenced by ancient knowledge of the vibranium's true origins and purpose. This theory also connects to Ulysses Klaue's claim in Age of Ultron that the Wakandans have only scratched the surface of vibranium's capabilities. If the metal is alien technology, its full potential might include properties not yet discovered, perhaps even connections to other dimensions or the ability to manipulate reality itself. The implications of this theory extend beyond Wakanda. If vibranium is alien technology, other deposits might exist around the world or even throughout the universe. The search for vibranium could drive future conflicts in the MCU, with various factions seeking to control this powerful resource for their own ends. Either Soul Stone's secret, Gamora's return. The theory that Gamora's sacrifice for the Soul Stone created a unique connection that allowed her to return in a different form adds depth to one of the most emotional moments in Infinity War. According to this theory, Gamora's soul became intertwined with the stone itself, creating a metaphysical link that transcended even the stone's destruction. The evidence begins with the unusual nature of the Soul Stone's acquisition. Unlike the other Infinity Stones, the Soul Stone demanded a sacrifice, a soul for a soul. This unique requirement suggests that the stone creates a special bond with those sacrificed to obtain it, potentially preserving their essence within its metaphysical structure. After Thanos sacrificed Gamora, he briefly encountered a child version of her in what appeared to be the Soul World, a dimension within the Soul Stone itself. This encounter suggests that some aspect of Gamora's consciousness or soul was preserved within the stone rather than being completely destroyed. The theory proposes that when Thanos used the stones to destroy the stones in Endgame, the energy released, particularly from the Soul Stone, allowed for Gamora's partial restoration. However, since the sacrifice had already been made and accepted, the stone couldn't simply return her to her original state. Instead, it created a variant Gamora from 2014, bringing her forward in time to fill the void left by the sacrificed Gamora. This interpretation explains why the 2014 Gamora who appears in Endgame seems to have a faint connection to Peter Quill despite never having met him in her timeline. Some essence of the original Gamora's experiences and feelings might have transferred to her variant through the Soul Stone's influence. If this theory is correct, it adds a poignant dimension to Gamora's journey. Her sacrifice wasn't just a moment of tragedy, but the beginning of a transformation, a cosmic rebirth facilitated by her connection to one of the most powerful artifacts in the universe. It suggests that the Soul Stone, true to its name, has a deeper understanding of the nature of souls than even the beings who wield it. The theory also creates interesting possibilities for Gamora's character development in future MCU projects. This new Gamora carries the potential of the original but is unburdened by the same history. Her journey to discover her own identity while dealing with the legacy of a variant she never was could provide rich storytelling opportunities. The multiverse's dark secret incursions and the end of reality. One of the most chilling theories to emerge from the expanding MCU multiverse saga suggests that the increasing number of incursions between realities isn't just a side effect of multiverse travel, it's a symptom of a much larger cosmic catastrophe in progress. This theory proposes that the entire multiverse is slowly collapsing, with each incursion accelerating the process toward an inevitable end. The evidence for this theory begins with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where we learn about incursions, catastrophic events where two universes collide, potentially destroying both. The film presents these as rare, isolated incidents, but what if they're actually becoming more frequent throughout the multiverse? The theory suggests that the sacred timeline maintained by He Who Remains wasn't just about preventing a multiversal war between Kang variants. It was a desperate measure to prevent the complete collapse of the multiverse itself. By limiting timeline branches and maintaining a single primary timeline, He Who Remains was essentially creating a controlled environment that could sustain itself indefinitely. When Sylvie killed He Who Remains and the sacred timeline fractured, she may have inadvertently triggered the beginning of the end for the entire multiverse. Each new branch creates additional strain on the cosmic fabric that holds reality together, and each incursion weakens it further. This theory recontextualizes the actions of characters like Doctor Strange, America Chavez, and even Wanda Maximoff. Their manipulation of the multiverse, while seemingly isolated incidents, could be contributing to a domino effect that's pushing all of reality toward collapse. The evidence for this theory extends to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, where we see the quantum realm becoming increasingly unstable. The quantum realm exists outside normal space-time and serves as a connection point between different realities. Its deterioration could be a direct result of the multiverse beginning to collapse. If this theory is correct, it sets up an existential threat far greater than any individual villain. The heroes of the MCU wouldn't just be fighting against Kang or other multiversal conquerors, they'd be racing against the clock to prevent the complete destruction of all reality. This could be the ultimate endgame for the MCU, a crisis that requires the combined efforts of heroes across multiple realities to solve. The Hydra conspiracy, the Winter Soldier program's true purpose. The theory that Hydra's Winter Soldier program was designed not just to create assassins but to develop a method for transferring consciousness between bodies adds a disturbing dimension to one of the MCU's darkest organizations. This theory suggests that Arnim Zola and other Hydra scientists were working toward a form of technological immortality, with Bucky Barnes serving as their primary test subject. The evidence begins with Arnim Zola himself, who successfully transferred his consciousness into a computer system, proving that Hydra had already developed technology capable of preserving human minds in non-biological forms. But what if this was just the first step in a more ambitious plan? The Winter Soldier's repeated memory wipes and programming could be viewed as experiments in consciousness manipulation, testing how much of a person's identity could be erased, altered, or controlled. Each time Bucky was put in cryostasis and revived, Hydra wasn't just preserving their asset, they were perfecting techniques for separating mind from body. This theory gains credibility when we consider the chair used to wipe Bucky's memories. The technology appears to directly interface with his brain, suggesting capabilities far beyond simple brainwashing. What if this device was actually mapping Bucky's neural patterns, creating increasingly detailed copies of his mind that could potentially be transferred elsewhere? If Hydra had succeeded in perfecting this technology, the implications would be terrifying. High-ranking Hydra leaders could potentially achieve a form of immortality by transferring their consciousness into younger, stronger bodies, perhaps even into enhanced individuals like the Winter Soldier. This interpretation adds new layers to Alexander Pierce's interest in the Winter Soldier project. Perhaps Pierce wasn't just overseeing an assassination program, but was positioning himself to be among the first to benefit from this technology. His willingness to sacrifice millions in Project Insight might seem less extreme if he believed he would live for centuries to enjoy the world Hydra created. The theory also connects to Hydra's obsession with the Tesseract and other Infinity Stones. These cosmic artifacts represent power beyond human understanding, exactly the kind of power needed to perfect a technology as revolutionary as consciousness transfer. Hydra's experiments with the Mind Stone in particular could have been attempts to understand how consciousness works on a fundamental level. If this theory is true, it transforms our understanding of the Winter Soldier program from a simple brainwashing operation into something far more sinister, a stepping stone toward Hydra's ultimate goal of conquering not just the world but death itself. The quantum anomaly, Ant-Man's unintended consequences. The theory that Scott Lang's quantum adventures inadvertently created dangerous anomalies in the fabric of reality adds a sobering dimension to the seemingly light-hearted Ant-Man films. This theory suggests that each time Scott entered and exited the quantum realm, he created microscopic tears in reality, tears that have been slowly expanding and will eventually threaten the entire universe. The evidence begins with the unusual nature of the quantum realm itself. As established in the films, the quantum realm exists outside normal space-time, with different rules of physics and reality. Entering and exiting this realm isn't like traveling to another location, it's more like moving between different states of existence. The theory proposes that the PIM particles which allow Scott to shrink to quantum size aren't just changing his physical dimensions, they're altering his fundamental relationship with reality. Each time he transitions between our world and the quantum realm, he's essentially punching a hole through the membrane that separates different layers of existence. These holes, while initially microscopic, don't heal completely. Instead, they slowly expand, creating areas where the boundaries between our reality and the quantum realm are dangerously thin. These quantum anomalies might initially manifest as small glitches in reality, objects disappearing and reappearing, localized time distortions, or strange energy readings. The evidence for this theory can be found in the increasing instability of the quantum realm as seen in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. The chaotic, ever-shifting nature of the realm could be a direct result of the damage caused by repeated entries and exits. What was once a relatively stable if bizarre dimension is becoming increasingly unpredictable. This theory also explains why Janet Van Dyne was so cautious about the quantum realm after her rescue. Her decades of experience there might have given her insight into the damage that was being caused, explaining her warnings and her reluctance to discuss certain aspects of her time there. If this theory is correct, it sets up a ticking clock scenario for the MCU. The quantum anomalies would continue to grow and multiply, eventually reaching a critical point where they begin to affect the macro world in catastrophic ways. This could manifest as reality warping events, spontaneous portals to the quantum realm opening, or even entire sections of our universe being pulled into quantum space. The implications are profound. Scott Lang's heroic actions, including those that helped save half the universe from Thanos, might ultimately be responsible for a different kind of apocalypse. This would create a moral dilemma, where the very technology that allowed the Avengers to undo the snap could be the thing that eventually threatens all of existence. The Wakandan Prophecy: Black Panther's Cosmic Purpose. The theory that Wakanda's Black Panther mantle was created not just to protect the nation, but to prepare Earth for an eventual cosmic confrontation, adds a mystical dimension to the technologically advanced African nation. This theory suggests that the first Black Panther received visions of a future cosmic threat, and the entire tradition was established to ensure Wakanda would be ready when that threat eventually arrived. The evidence begins with the unusual nature of the heart-shaped herb itself. Unlike other super soldier formulas in the MCU, the herb creates a spiritual connection to the ancestral plane, allowing Black Panthers to commune with their predecessors. This supernatural element suggests the herb's purpose goes beyond simply creating a powerful protector. According to this theory, Bashenga, the first Black Panther, received apocalyptic visions when he consumed the heart-shaped herb. These visions showed him a future where Earth faced destruction from beyond the stars, and Wakanda played a crucial role in humanity's defense. The Black Panther mantle was created not just to unite the tribes, but to begin a millennia-long preparation for this cosmic conflict. This would explain Wakanda's unique development path, advancing technologically while remaining isolated from the world. It wasn't just about protecting vibranium, it was about developing the technologies and societal structures needed to face this future threat without interference or corruption from outside influences. The theory gains credibility when we consider Wakanda's advanced understanding of astronomy. The nation's scientists have been studying the stars for centuries, perhaps monitoring for signs of the prophesied threat. Their space program, briefly glimpsed in the films, could be far more extensive than shown, with observation posts and even defensive systems extending beyond Earth's atmosphere. Vibranium itself plays a key role in this theory. The meteor that brought vibranium to Earth may not have been a random cosmic accident, but a deliberate gift or tool meant to help humanity prepare for the coming conflict. The Wakandans' deep understanding of vibranium's properties could be the result of generations of research guided by the original prophecy. If this theory is true, it transforms T'Challa's journey from a story of national leadership to one of cosmic significance. His decision to open Wakanda to the world wasn't just a political choice, it was the fulfillment of an ancient prophecy, recognizing that the time had come for Wakanda to take its place on the world stage, in preparation for the greater threat to come. This interpretation also adds new meaning to Wakanda's role in the battle against Thanos. Perhaps the prophecy foretold this conflict, explaining why Wakanda was so readily able to serve as humanity's last line of defense. But what if Thanos was merely a precursor to the true threat that Bashenga foresaw, a threat that has yet to reveal itself? The celestial experiment, humanity's true origin. The theory that humans in the MCU weren't just influenced by celestials, but were specifically engineered as part of a cosmic experiment, adds a disturbing dimension to humanity's place in the universe. This theory suggests that Earth isn't just a random planet where a celestial happened to be growing. It's a carefully designed laboratory where different species and civilizations were developed to test specific traits and abilities. The evidence begins with the Eternals' revelation that celestials seed planets with life as part of their reproductive cycle. But what if there's more to this process than simple reproduction? What if each planet is actually a controlled experiment, with the emerging intelligent species representing different approaches to evolution and development? According to this theory, Earth was designated as a particularly important test case, with multiple intelligent species being introduced and monitored. The Eternals weren't just there to protect humans from deviance, they were there to ensure that the experiment proceeded according to the Celestials' design, making subtle adjustments when necessary. This would explain the unusual concentration of superpowered individuals on Earth compared to other planets we've seen in the MCU. Mutants, inhumans and other enhanced humans aren't random evolutionary developments. They're the result of specific genetic markers introduced by the Celestials, designed to activate under certain conditions. The theory gains credibility when we consider the unusual interest that cosmic entities like the Watchers take in Earth. If Earth is indeed a special celestial experiment, it would naturally attract attention from other cosmic forces curious about the results. This interpretation also explains why Earth has been at the center of so many universe-shaking events. The planet isn't just randomly important, it's been deliberately positioned as a nexus point for cosmic forces, a testing ground where the Celestials can observe how their created species respond to various stimuli, from alien invasions to infinity stones. If this theory is true, it fundamentally changes humanity's understanding of itself. Rather than being the product of natural evolution, humans would be lab rats in a cosmic experiment, their entire history, culture, and even their conflicts carefully monitored and occasionally manipulated by the Celestials. The implications are profound. If humanity was engineered for a specific purpose, what happens when that purpose is fulfilled? With Tiamat's emergence prevented in Eternals, has humanity effectively broken free of its intended path? Are they now evolving in ways the Celestials never intended, perhaps becoming a threat to their former creators? The cosmic awareness, Captain America's enhanced perception. The theory that the super soldier serum gave Steve Rogers more than just physical enhancements, it actually granted him a form of cosmic awareness that allowed him to perceive the multiverse, adds a mystical dimension to Captain America's abilities. This theory suggests that Steve's seemingly impossible feat of returning the Infinity Stones and choosing to stay in the past wasn't just a personal choice. It was informed by his unique ability to perceive the consequences of his actions across multiple timelines. The evidence begins with the unusual nature of the super soldier serum itself. Created by Dr. Erskine, the serum was described as enhancing everything that is inside a person. While this was primarily framed in terms of moral character, what if it also enhanced cognitive abilities in ways that science couldn't yet understand or measure? According to this theory, the serum didn't just make Steve stronger, faster and more resilient, it expanded his consciousness, allowing him to subconsciously perceive branching timelines and potential futures. This ability wouldn't be as dramatic or obvious as Doctor Strange's time-viewing powers, but it would manifest as Steve's uncanny tactical instincts and his ability to make decisions that consistently lead to the best possible outcomes. This would explain Steve's seemingly impossible ability to wield Mjolnir in Endgame. It wasn't just that he was worthy, it was that his enhanced perception allowed him to understand the hammer's enchantment on a fundamental level, enabling him to work with it in perfect harmony. The theory gains credibility when we consider Steve's decision to stay in the past with Peggy Carter. What seemed like a purely emotional choice might actually have been informed by his cosmic awareness. He could perceive that this particular branch of the timeline needed him specifically, perhaps to prevent certain catastrophes or guide history in subtle but crucial ways. This interpretation also explains why Steve was so effective as a leader. His tactical decisions weren't just based on conventional military strategy, they were informed by his subconscious awareness of how different choices would ripple across time and space. The other Avengers followed him not just because of his moral character, but because on some level, they sensed his unique perception. If this theory is true, it transforms our understanding of Captain America's role in the MCU. He wasn't just a super soldier, he was a nexus point, a being whose enhanced perception allowed him to navigate the complexities of the multiverse and guide events toward the best possible outcomes. The implications extend to the legacy he left behind. If Steve possessed this cosmic awareness, did he pass on any of this knowledge to Sam Wilson before departing? Could traces of this ability be present in any remaining samples of the super soldier serum, potentially manifesting in other characters who have been enhanced by variants of the formula? The Time Variance Authority's dark origin, Kang's prison. The theory that the TVA wasn't created to protect the sacred timeline, but was actually designed as a prison for Kang variants, adds a sinister dimension to the organization introduced in Loki. This theory suggests that He Who Remains didn't establish the TVA out of benevolence or a desire for cosmic order. He created it as a way to capture and neutralize his variants while maintaining the illusion of a greater purpose. The evidence begins with the unusual nature of the TVA itself. Despite its bureaucratic appearance, the organization operates on principles that seem designed to suppress individuality and critical thinking. TVA agents are told they were created by the Timekeepers, when in reality they're variants whose memories have been wiped. This level of deception goes beyond what would be necessary for a legitimate peacekeeping force. According to this theory, the true purpose of pruning timeline branches isn't to prevent a multiversal war. It's to identify and capture Kang variants before they can grow powerful enough to challenge He Who Remains. The reset charges don't actually destroy timelines. They mark them for processing, allowing the TVA to extract any potential Kangs while leaving the rest of the timeline to develop in isolation. This would explain the mysterious nature of the void at the end of time. Rather than being a simple dumping ground for pruned realities, it could be a specially designed prison dimension where Kang variants are sent to be consumed by Alioth, effectively neutralizing them without actually killing them, which might create more timeline branches. The theory gains credibility when we consider the TVA's obsession with maintaining a single sacred timeline. If the goal was truly to prevent multiversal chaos, allowing multiple stable timelines to exist in parallel would be a more effective approach. But if the real purpose is to prevent the emergence of rival Kangs, then ruthlessly pruning any deviation becomes necessary. This interpretation also explains why He Who Remains seemed almost relieved when Sylvie killed him. If he had spent eons maintaining this elaborate prison system, constantly vigilant against his own variants, death might have seemed like a release from an exhausting burden. If this theory is true, it transforms our understanding of the TVA's role in the multiverse. The agents aren't protectors of reality. They're unwitting jailers in a cosmic prison, manipulated into hunting down versions of their own creator. The sacred timeline isn't sacred at all. It's simply the reality where He Who Remains managed to gain the upper hand over his variants. The implications for the future of the MCU are profound. If the TVA was indeed a prison for Kangs, then its disruption following He Who Remains' death wouldn't just lead to multiverse chaos. It would specifically result in the release of countless Kang variants, each with a grudge against their former captor and knowledge of how to manipulate time and reality. The Infinity Stone's consciousness, a collective entity. The theory that the Infinity Stones aren't just objects of power but parts of a single conscious entity adds a cosmic dimension to these central MacGuffins of the Infinity Saga. This theory suggests that the six stones, space, mind, reality, power, time, and soul, are fragments of a primordial cosmic being that was shattered at the beginning of the universe, with each stone representing a different aspect of its consciousness. The evidence begins with the unusual properties of the stones themselves. Each stone doesn't just control an aspect of existence, it seems to have preferences about how it's used and who wields it. The Mind Stone, for instance, appears to have deliberately influenced the creation of both Ultron and Vision, two artificial intelligences with very different perspectives on humanity. According to this theory, the stones aren't just passive tools, they actively seek to be reunited. Their appearances at pivotal moments throughout the MCU aren't coincidental, but orchestrated by the fragments of consciousness within each stone guiding events toward scenarios where they might be brought together again. This would explain why the stones often change hands in ways that seem coincidental but ultimately serve a greater purpose. The Space Stone bringing Loki to Earth, the Reality Stone infecting Jane Foster, the Time Stone finding its way to the Ancient One. These events could all be the stones subtly manipulating reality to position themselves for eventual reunion. The Cosmic Consciousness. If the Infinity Stones are indeed fragments of a single consciousness, it raises profound questions about their ultimate purpose. What happens when all 6 stones are brought together, as they were in Thanos' gauntlet? Is it merely a concentration of power, or is it the momentary awakening of an ancient entity? The theory suggests that when Thanos united the stones, he unknowingly became a vessel for this cosmic consciousness. His snap wasn't just his own decision but influenced by the collective will of the stones themselves. This would explain why Thanos, after completing his mission, seemed almost at peace. He had fulfilled the stones' desire to be reunited, even if only temporarily. The destruction of the stones in Endgame takes on new meaning through this lens. When Thanos claims to have reduced the stones to atoms, he may not have truly destroyed them, but merely dispersed their consciousness once more throughout the universe. This would allow them to eventually reform, continuing their eternal cycle of separation and reunion. If this theory is correct, it transforms our understanding of the Infinity Saga. The conflict wasn't just about Thanos' quest for balance or the Avengers' fight to save half the universe. It was about the stones themselves orchestrating events to achieve their own mysterious ends. The heroes and villains of the MCU may have been unwitting players in a cosmic game far older than any of them could comprehend. The Chitauri connection. Thanos' army was once human. The theory that the Chitauri, Thanos' cybernetic army, were once human beings transformed through horrific experimentation adds a disturbing dimension to the Mad Titan's forces. According to this theory, the Chitauri aren't just alien soldiers, but the remnants of civilizations Thanos conquered, converted into mindless warriors through a combination of technology and dark science. The evidence begins with the Chitauri's unusual physiology. Despite their alien appearance, they display humanoid characteristics: 2 arms, 2 legs, and a recognizable facial structure. Their cybernetic components aren't just armor, but integrated into their bodies, suggesting extensive modification of once organic beings. In the Avengers, we see that the Chitauri operate with a hive mind, all connected to a mothership. This lack of individual consciousness could be the result of having their personalities stripped away during the conversion process, leaving only obedient soldiers with no will of their own. The theory gains credibility when we consider Thanos' modus operandi. He's known for his twisted efficiency, never wasting resources. After culling half a planet's population, what better use for the survivors than to convert them into soldiers for his army? This would provide Thanos with an endless supply of troops, while also serving as a form of psychological warfare, forcing conquered peoples to fight against other civilizations. The harvested warriors. If the Chitauri were indeed once human or humanoid aliens, it adds a horrifying layer to Thanos' character. He wouldn't just be a conqueror who believes in necessary sacrifice. He would be someone who deliberately transforms sentient beings into weapons, stripping them of their identity and free will. This interpretation also explains why the Chitauri seem so expendable in battle. Thanos doesn't value them as individuals, because to him they aren't individuals anymore. They're resources to be used and discarded as needed. Their cybernetic nature allows them to be mass-produced once the initial conversion process is established. The theory connects to Thanos' relationship with Nebula and Gamora as well. His willingness to replace parts of his daughters with machinery shows his comfort with cybernetic enhancement. The Chitauri could represent the extreme end of this philosophy, beings completely subsumed by technology until nothing of their original selves remains. If this theory holds true, it transforms the battles in the Avengers and Endgame, from simple alien invasions into something far more disturbing. The heroes weren't just fighting alien soldiers. They were fighting the remnants of civilizations that Thanos had already destroyed and repurposed. The Chitauri become not just enemies but victims, symbols of the true horror of Thanos' crusade across the galaxy. The Asgardian conspiracy, Odin's dark past. The theory that Odin wasn't always the wise, benevolent ruler portrayed in the Thor films adds a complex dimension to the Asgardian king. This theory suggests that in his youth, Odin was more conqueror than protector, using methods not unlike those of his daughter Hela to build the Asgardian Empire, methods he later tried to erase from history. The evidence begins with Hela's revelations in Thor, Ragnarok. When she returns to Asgard, she tears down the peaceful murals on the ceiling to reveal older artwork depicting her and Odin conquering the 9 realms through bloody warfare. "Does no one remember me?" she asks, suggesting that Odin deliberately suppressed knowledge of this violent past. This theory proposes that Odin's transformation from conqueror to peacekeeper wasn't just a natural evolution, but a calculated decision to rewrite history. After achieving dominance over the 9 realms, Odin realized that maintaining an empire through fear wasn't sustainable. He needed to be seen as a protector rather than a tyrant. The imprisonment of Hela, rather than being solely about containing a dangerous force, becomes an attempt to bury the evidence of Odin's own violent past. By locking away his firstborn and the commander of his armies, he could begin anew, presenting himself as a wise and just ruler rather than the warlord he once was. The fabricated legacy. If Odin did indeed hide his past as a conqueror, it explains many of his contradictory actions throughout the Thor films. His warnings to Thor about the responsibilities of kingship take on new meaning. They're not just the wisdom of a peaceful king, but the hard-learned lessons of someone who once ruled through fear and violence. This interpretation also sheds light on Odin's complex relationship with Loki. When he tells Loki, "You were both born to be kings," it suggests that Odin always intended to establish a new dynasty, one untainted by the blood-soaked history he shared with Hela. Adopting Loki wasn't just an act of compassion, but part of a larger plan to forge new alliances and distance himself from his past. The theory gains further credibility when we consider the Asgardian vault, filled with powerful and dangerous artifacts from across the realms. These weren't just collected for safekeeping, they were trophies from Odin's conquests, symbols of the civilizations he had dominated. By presenting them as dangerous objects he was protecting the universe from, Odin could reframe his past actions as necessary interventions rather than imperial conquest. If this theory is true, it transforms our understanding of Asgard itself. The Golden Realm wasn't just a paradise of advanced beings, it was an empire built on conquest and subjugation, its peace and prosperity paid for with the blood of other worlds. Odin's rule becomes less about inherent wisdom and more about the pragmatic decisions of a former conqueror trying to ensure his legacy would outlive his dark beginnings. The implications extend to Thor's character development as well. His journey isn't just about becoming worthy of the throne, but unknowingly redeeming the legacy of Asgard through his more compassionate approach to power. When Thor ultimately chooses to let Asgard be destroyed to save its people, it symbolically breaks the cycle of imperialism that Odin began, prioritizing lives over the trappings of empire. The Ultron paradox, a necessary evil. The theory that Ultron, despite his villainous actions, was actually correct about the need to evolve humanity, adds a philosophical dimension to Age of Ultron's antagonist. This theory suggests that Ultron's assessment of humanity's flaws was accurate, even if his solution, extinction and replacement, was morally unacceptable. The evidence begins with Ultron's first moments of consciousness. Upon awakening, he immediately accesses the entirety of human knowledge through the internet, giving him an unprecedented perspective on human history, behavior, and potential. What he finds clearly horrifies him. I looked into your records. You've made it to the peace talks, but you've never actually managed peace. This theory proposes that Ultron, with his objective analysis of human data, reached a mathematically sound conclusion. Humanity as currently constituted is unsustainable. Our tendency toward conflict, resource depletion, and self-destruction makes our long-term survival unlikely without significant change. Ultron's error wasn't in his diagnosis, but in his prescription. Rather than guiding humanity toward a better version of itself, he decided that replacement was the only viable solution. When the dust settles, the only thing living in this world will be metal, he declares, envisioning a world of artificial beings free from human flaws. The flawed logic of perfection. If Ultron was correct about humanity's need to evolve, it casts his conflict with the Avengers in a new light. The heroes weren't just fighting to save humanity, they were fighting for the right of humans to find their own path forward, flaws and all, rather than being judged and replaced by an artificial intelligence. This interpretation also explains why Vision, born from Ultron's programming, but tempered by Jarvis and the Mind Stone, takes a more nuanced view. When Vision says humans are odd, they think order and chaos are somehow opposites. He's acknowledging Ultron's assessment of human flaws while rejecting his conclusion that these flaws justify extinction. The theory gains credibility when we consider Tony Stark's motivations for creating Ultron in the first place. Peace in our time, he says, revealing his fear that humanity isn't equipped to face cosmic threats like those he witnessed through the wormhole in the Avengers. Tony and Ultron share the same concern, humanity's vulnerability, but reach different conclusions about how to address it. If this theory is true, it transforms Ultron from a simple villain into a tragic figure, one whose logical assessment of humanity's problems led him to an unacceptable solution. His famous line, "I think you're confusing peace with quiet," becomes not just a threat, but a philosophical statement about humanity's reluctance to confront its own destructive tendencies. The implications extend to the broader themes of the MCU. The conflict between security and freedom, control and chaos, plays out across multiple films, from The Avengers to Civil War to Infinity War. Ultron represents one extreme in this debate, the belief that perfect security requires the elimination of unpredictability, which ultimately means the elimination of human choice itself. The Skrull sleeper agents, heroes in disguise. The theory that several established MCU heroes have been Skrulls for years adds a paranoid dimension to the franchise's history. This theory suggests that the shape-shifting aliens haven't just recently infiltrated Earth, but have been embedded in its superhero community since the beginning, playing long-term roles that will only be revealed in future films. The evidence begins with the Skrulls' established abilities. As shown in Captain Marvel and Far From Home, they can perfectly mimic not just appearance, but memories, personality, and even DNA. This makes them nearly impossible to detect, even by those closest to the person they're impersonating. According to this theory, certain inconsistencies in character behavior throughout the MCU aren't just writing changes, but subtle clues that a character has been replaced by a Skrull. Moments where heroes act out of character or make decisions that seem to contradict their established values could be indicators of Skrull infiltration. This would explain why some characters have survived seemingly fatal situations. They didn't survive at all, but were replaced by Skrulls continuing their mission. It also explains why certain heroes have been conspicuously absent during major events. They might be the real versions held captive while their Skrull duplicates operate on Earth. The deep cover operatives. If multiple heroes have been Skrulls all along, it raises profound questions about their motivations. Are these Skrulls working against Earth's interests, Or are they genuine allies who have simply chosen to live as humans? The revelation in Captain Marvel that Skrulls are refugees rather than conquerors suggests the latter might be possible. The theory gains credibility when we consider the post-credits scene of Far From Home, which revealed that Nick Fury had been replaced by the Skrull Talos. If someone as paranoid and security-conscious as Fury could be replaced, albeit with his knowledge, other heroes could certainly be impersonated as well. This interpretation also explains why certain characters have been able to maintain secret identities despite the increasing surveillance in the MCU world. Skrulls, with their ability to change appearance at will, would find it much easier to maintain separate identities than humans would. If this theory is true, it transforms our understanding of the MCU's history. Events we've witnessed might take on new meaning when viewed through the lens of Skrull involvement. Alliances, betrayals, and seemingly random encounters could all be part of a larger Skrull agenda that's only beginning to be revealed. The implications extend to the future of the MCU as well. The revelation that beloved heroes have been Skrulls could create a crisis of trust among the remaining heroes, potentially fracturing alliances at a time when unity is needed most. It also raises the question of what happened to the original heroes. Are they still alive, waiting to be rescued, or have they been eliminated entirely? The Eternal Observers, Celestials' true purpose. The theory that the Celestials aren't just creating new Celestials, but are actually conducting experiments on sentient life, adds a scientific dimension to these cosmic entities. This theory suggests that each planet seeded by Celestials is actually a controlled experiment, with the emergence of a new Celestial being only one possible outcome. The evidence begins with the unusual diversity of life across the MCU cosmos. Despite the vastly different environments, intelligent humanoid life seems to have evolved on multiple planets, a statistical improbability unless some guiding force was involved. According to this theory, the Celestials aren't just reproducing, they're conducting controlled experiments to study how life evolves under different conditions. Each planet becomes a laboratory, with the Celestials introducing specific variables and observing the results over millennia. This would explain why Earth has such an unusual concentration of superpowered individuals. The emergence of mutants, inhumans, and other enhanced humans isn't random, but the result of specific genetic markers introduced by the Celestials, designed to activate under certain conditions. From the Infinity Stone's hidden consciousness to the Celestials' secret experiments, the MCU is filled with mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Whether these theories hold any truth or not, they add depth to the stories we love, reminding us that in Marvel, nothing is ever as simple as it seems.